Your name, please?
William Easter.
Mr. William Easter.
Right.
Your passport, please.
Do I have to go through this rigmarole every time?
Regulation, sir.
Beastly nuisance, I call it.
You will receive your American visa in Lisbon.
Will there be time?
Definitely.
We seem to have cut our time pretty close, Sir Henry.
Have you a word, Sir Henry?
Do you wish to make any comment, sir?
Sir Henry, what is your destination, New York or Washington?
I'm sorry, I have nothing to say.
Sir Henry Marchmont, official business.
Oh, Sir Henry Marchmont.
Sir Henry, Joe?
Good luck, Sir Henry.
Thanks. I may need it.
Shall I take your case, sir?
Definitely not.
Sir Henry, don't mind.
Judge.
I see. You think the old boy carried the fate of the Empire in that little black case?
Perhaps he does.
Time's up, boys. Roll it away. Lively now.
Hey, just a moment. You're shy of one passenger.
Hold on. Wait a bit. Wait, I say. I've got Patsy.
Yes, all right. Your name, sir?
Grayson's the name. John Grayson, senior clerk, Paro Nash and Paro, solicitors, Chancery Lane. You've got it all there. Everything quite regular. Sorry to delay you. Missed the bus. Had to take a taxi. Fearful nuisance.
Yes, sir. Hop aboard, will you? We're late now.
Thanks. Thanks awfully. Sorry to delay. Thanks awfully.
Right-ho, boys. Roll it away.
Excuse me, sir. Awfully sorry.
Fred, all right?
No sense of balance. None whatever. Thanks. Clumsy of me. No sense of balance. That's what it is. Effect of the inner ear, I fancy.
When I read that you were en route to Washington, Sir Henry, I just couldn't rest until I found you. Now, Julia, when can you dine with us?
Very kind, Mrs. Jellison. I'll put you first on my unofficial list.
Oh, I have a much better idea. You must let me put you up during your stay.
Thanks very much,
Washington
but-
is so crowded. I'll put you in the blue room.
Come in.
Thank you, sir.
But if Sir Henry isn't the one, who is?
I don't know. But the head received a cable from London tipping him off. It's up to us to find the real British agent before this train reaches Washington.
Yeah. Whoever's got the document will be protected there.
If Sir Henry isn't carrying it, I've got it. Besides Sir Henry and myself, only one man has come all the way from London. A chap called Grayson, John Grayson.
Well, then Grayson's our man.
Grayson's carrying the document, while Sir Henry's being used as a decoy.
It's so old, it's new.
When Grayson leaves the club car and goes to get his luggage, that's our cue.
We know what to do, Easter.
Good. That's Grayson standing at the bar. The little fellow.
Excuse me, sir.
Don't give it a thought, brother. I'm in politics. I'm used to hard knocks. I'm Henry Babcock, Senator Babcock.
How do you do? John Grayson.
Sit down, Grayson. Have a glass of grape juice from my home state. Used to know a man named Grayson. Mighty fine man. He was murdered. 2 grapes, George.
On the fire, sir.
This book has got me all confused. I do wish you'd set me straight on the international situation.
Rather large order, I'm afraid.
Oh, you're so right, Sir Henry. We must take the broader view, I always say.
Another grape juice, Grayson. You can't have too many vitamins, I always say.
Thanks, Senator. But if you don't mind, I'll have a whiskey and soda.
Why, sure. George, bring him over, will you?
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get a chair. I was built for comfort.
Jolly little beggars, what? Kept so myself as a lad, till Mother got a cat.
Shh. Don't say C-A-T.
Oh, sorry. Permit me, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Very kind, I'm sure.
Pardon me, sir.
Here we are.
Porter,
Yes, sir?
are we on time?
Yes, sir. Be in Washington in 20 minutes.
By the way, Grayson, what's your line?
Line?
Yeah, what business you in? What's your racket?
Oh, I represent a London legal firm, Paolo, Nash & Paolo.
Paolo. I used to know a man named Paolo. No, it was Marlowe. Couldn't have been the same fella.
No, I suppose not.
I've been making a tour of my state, getting the opinions of the home folks, taking a lot of their ideas back to Washington.
I'd like to hear more of your activities, Senator.
Give me your address, sir, and I'll have all my speeches mailed to you.
You're quite too kind, sir. Sorry I have no card.
Oh, Porter.
Yes, miss?
Permit me.
Thank you very much.
Not at all. I'll be at this address for the next week or so. I hope.
Thank you. I'll get my papers together. Pleasant meeting, my friend. Better look me up in Washington.
I'll just get my bag.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, I forgot to pay George. Excuse me, sir. Well, what's the matter with the lights?
Just a little blackout. Keep your seat. Just a little blackout. Keep your seat.
Mice!
Oh, dear. All gone.
Nancy, darling.
I didn't dream you'd be able to meet me.
George.
I got leave.
Oh, darling, that's wonderful.
Just 3 days.
Oh, that's awful.
We haven't a second to lose. First thing I did
As I was saying, Sir Henry.
was get this.
Oh, honey. This thing.
Well, I haven't had much experience. Look, day after tomorrow, your aunt's giving us a reception. Until then, you and I are going to be a couple of busy people.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Goodbye.
Who's your boyfriend?
You needn't worry. He just lit a cigarette for me.
the BBC News Bureau, broadcasting from London. At this time, we present our regular morning summary of the news. A British subject has disappeared under curious circumstances. John Grayson, senior clerk in the firm of Parlow, Nash and Parlow, solicitors, Chancery Lane, has not arrived at his firm's representatives in Washington. Foul play is suspected.
Deplorable, simply deplorable. It's the sort of thing that shakes your faith, by Jove. I say, Holmes, shakes your faith in everything.
You alarm me, Watson. I've never seen you affected by the news, however startling.
Startling, my dear fellow, it's devastating. Seen the scores? The Navy got 428 for 6 wickets against the Army at Lord's.
May I draw your attention to the fact that really momentous things are happening in the world today?
I know all about that. I'll get to them later on.
Excuse me.
Mind my egg, Oldbean.
Oh, I'm sorry. With your consuming interest in the game, I'm surprised that you've changed your mind about running up to Lord's cricket ground this afternoon.
It can't be helped. I had to put it off. How did you know I changed my mind?
Elementary, my dear Watson. Invariably, when you go to a cricket match, you fill your flask with my best whiskey. Just now, I noted in passing that the flask was empty. The single whiff informed me that it had been recently filled. Obviously, after filling it, you would pour the contents back into the bottle. Therefore, you had changed your mind about a cricket match.
You amaze me, Holmes. You positively amaze me.
Come in, Mrs. Hudson.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Holmes. There's a gentleman, and he's very insistent. Well, I do declare he followed me right up the stairs. Didn't I ask you to wait?
My good woman, you may ask me to wait, but not the British Empire. Mr. Holmes, I must talk to you immediately.
How are you, Mr. Irons? That will be all now, thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
My good woman, indeed.
Irons? I seem to know that name.
Don't tell me, my dear Watson, that you don't recognize Mr. Irons at the Home Office.
Oh, yes, of course. I knew the moment you came in. How are you, Irons?
How do you do?
Do you see what the Navy did to the Army at Lord's yesterday?
All right, Watson, go on with your breakfast.
Bad show. 428, 6 wickets.
Mr. Holmes, I'm here on a matter of the utmost secrecy.
Now, I assure you, Mr. Irons, that Dr. Watson is the very soul of discretion. Won't you sit down? By the way, Watson, please be so good as to keep tapping on the table with your knife.
Tapping on the table, now?
It will break the wavelengths if by any chance there's a dictograph in the walls.
Oh, really?
Cigarette?
No, thank you.
You can stop now, Watson. Well, Mr. Irons, I take it you've called on me in connection with the kidnapping of John Grayson in America last night.
Oh, yes. Yes, exactly. Grayson was carrying a document of a very confidential nature.
Indeed.
Its contents are of such great international importance that I am not at liberty to reveal them. But if that document falls into the hands of the enemy, I can only say it will be absolutely disastrous for this government and our allies. For that reason, we did not wish to transport it to Washington in the usual way. So a regular King's messenger, Sir Henry Marchmont, was dispatched.
Not carrying the document, of course.
That's right. Sir Henry was a sort of...
sort of red herring, shall we say?
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
The document was actually entrusted to a reliable but insignificant man in our Secret Service. On his arrival in Washington, he was to make himself known to Sir Henry and deliver the document. Now, not even Sir Henry knew that this man, Pettibone, who traveled under the name of John Grayson, was the real messenger.
Pettibone?
Yes.
Alfred Pettibone?
Yes.
Good man. None better. I've worked with him often.
I hope you may be able to work with him again. But he's completely disappeared. He's vanished, gone, without leaving a trace.
I can see the possibility of serious ramifications in his disappearance.
Exactly. So far, we've been able to keep the knowledge of our loss from both the American and British public. Holmes, you must retrieve that document before it can be used against us. Of course, the Washington police have been notified of Grayson's disappearance, but even they don't know that he was carrying the document. Now, that's about all the detail I'm at liberty to give you.
Well, if they've got Grayson, that is Pettibone, they must have got the papers.
Not necessarily, Watson. It doesn't follow because they've got the man, they've got the document. What form was this document in?
It was typed on 2 sheets of legal paper.
2 sheets? That's too bulky to swallow.
And dry, Watson. Fearfully dry. Especially legal papers. Well, whatever shape the document was in, I trust Pettibone to get rid of it before anyone could lay hands on him.
The document must be found before it falls into the hands of our enemies. I'm here on behalf of His Majesty's government to urge you to find it.
That means going to Washington, of course.
With all possible speed. A bomber is waiting for you at Croydon. Goodbye, Dr. Watson.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, Aarons.
Goodbye, Holmes. Good luck.
Thanks very much.
We're relying on you.
Well, Watson, we're off to Washington at once.
America? I say, that's exciting. I've never seen a game of baseball. Let's go and start packing at once.
First, I'd like to take a look at the home of Alfred Pettibone. Come on, Watson.
Why, Dr. Watson, what a surprise. And Mr. Holmes, won't you come in?
Thank you.
I'm frightfully sorry, but you won't find my son in. He's gone to Washington. Some business or other.
Poor fellow, I'm afraid that he'll never get used to the climate over there.
Would you mind if we looked over your son's room?
Why, of course. It's upstairs.
Thank you.
Some friends tell me it's very, very muggy, very sticky. I had a letter from Philadelphia the other day.
You'll find his room in a dreadful pickle, Mr. Holmes. Quite ripped he is. If I as much as put my nose inside. As if I cared anything about his silly old collection.
This sort of Pettibone seems a curious sort of fellow. Sort of collector of collections. Postage stamps. Military buttons. Butterfly. I don't know. Bugs, snapshots, all sorts of rubbish.
Yes, I shall write a monograph someday on the noxious habit of accumulating useless trivia. Please be so good as to stop pacing, Watson. You distract me.
All right, all right.
Unless I'm greatly mistaken, our friend Pettibone did not carry 2 pages of legal paper when he left this room.
I wouldn't be too sure, Holmes. Ashes are deceptive, you know.
On the contrary, my dear Watson, the rag used in our official documents leaves an ash that is unmistakable. Oh, do stop pacing.
I'm not pacing. I've moved an inch.
I'm sorry, old fellow. My error.
Must be Mrs. Pettibone. Heavy woman, light on her feet.
Doesn't follow. Our friend seems to be quite a camera enthusiast. What's this? Cooke F1.5. That's a very fast lens. F3.5. Summer. Copying setup. American match folders.
That's right. USA.
Now, why would Pettibone want American match folders in his work? And a microscope. Most interesting. Oh, what's this? Watson, this microscope was last used for examining microfilm. I'm beginning to see the pattern.
Stop now.
Did you know that the letters of our soldiers overseas are being photographed on microfilm so that one carrier pigeon can carry the equivalent of 18,000 letters?
Oh, really? We had a carrier pigeon in the last war. Back in 1915, belonging to the Brigade Signal Corps.
Did you?
Yeah, the poor bird kept flying round and round in circles all day long. Found out later on that it was cross-eyed. Tragic thing. Huh? Where are you going? Huh? Oh, darkroom, huh?
This is what I was looking for.
Huh?
This projector magnifies tremendously anything placed on the slide, like this piece of microfilm. Understand?
I can't say I do exactly, no.
Wait a minute. I'll show you what he's photographed.
Oh, it's a match folder. What do you want to photograph that for?
Probably to line up his equipment before he photographed the document. We've got it, Watson.
Over?
Yes. Come along.
Oh, it's all as clear as mud to me.
Just as I thought. This document has been reduced to microfilm to make its concealment possible. Alfred Pettibone is a most ingenious fellow. A bulky document is obviously difficult to conceal. But 2 pages of estate paper, photographed on microfilm, would be reduced to a size no larger than a halfpenny stamp. Slitting a match folder with this razor blade, Pettibone placed the now minute document inside, stuck it together again, and there he had it. An American match folder, rare in London, but completely inconspicuous in the United States.
Do you mean to say we're off to America just to look for a match folder? It's a big country.
A big country, Watson. And a small match folder. Come along.
Did you find what you were looking for, Mr. Holmes?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Pettibone. By the by, you haven't been up on the roof in the last 20 minutes, have you?
Why, no. What made you think...
Well, we distinctly heard footsteps.
Nonsense, Watson. It was the house settling.
Gracious, yes. Such popping and groaning. We're quite used to it.
Thank you.
Goodbye, Mr. Holmes.
Goodbye, Mrs. Pettibone.
Goodbye, Dr. Watson.
Goodbye.
So sorry you missed Alfred. I'll tell him the minute he gets back.
Gets back? Oh, yes, of course. Well, goodbye again, Mrs. Pettibone.
Just a minute, Watson. That was no accident, I assure you, Watson.
Well, aren't you going to find out who did it?
Time's too precious now. But at least I know they've learned of my entry into the case.
They? Who are they?
The same group that took Alfred Pettibone off the train on his way to Washington. A group that will stop at nothing to get their hands on the document he carried. Their leader is a clever, resourceful criminal who seems to have sources of information from everywhere.
Oh, that means a worldwide organization. Who'll stop at nothing, you say?
Quite. That's why we must get our bags and ourselves aboard that bomber without delay. We're opposed by an adversary worthy of our best efforts. At present, he has all the advantages. Even that of being only a merciless, nameless shadow. Think of it, Watson. In a few hours, we'll be flying out over the Atlantic.
We're flying over New York, sir.
New York, eh?
Yes, sir. We've been cleared by radio. Non-stop, Washington.
What is that book that so engrosses your attention, Watson?
A book on the quaint customs and manners of America. We must be halfway across, and I've only got to page 37.
For your information, my dear fellow, we are now flying over New York.
Flying over New York? Gracious me. What do you think?
Embassy car, Mr. Holmes.
You're being very helpful, Mr. Lang.
Detective Lieutenant Grogan of the Washington Police.
How do you do?
Welcome to Washington.
Thank you. This is my associate, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
How are you?
I suppose I should say, how are you, buddy? What's cooking?
Oh, come along, Watson.
Oh, it says it's in the book. What was cooking?
Grogan had charge of investigating the Grayson case for the Washington Police.
Any new developments, Grogan?
None, Mr. Holmes. We're glad to let you have our complete file. And, of course, we'll cooperate in every way.
Thank you. I shall appreciate your help. Especially as I'm unfamiliar with your country.
Oh, yes, of course. This is your first visit. Oh, there's the Lincoln Memorial.
Most impressive. Oh, by the by, Mr. Lang, thank you for your cablegram. I received it just before I left London.
Cable? I sent no cable.
About our reservations at the Hotel Metropole.
Why, no. We thought you'd stay at the embassy, of course.
Look at that. Well, since some strange person has taken such an extraordinary interest in my welfare, I think I shall stay at the Hotel Metropole.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, there's the Washington Monument. There's the Capitol, Mr. Holmes.
Magnificent.
We're expecting you, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you.
I questioned everybody known to have been in that club car, as a matter of course. Sir Henry Marchmont confirms that Grayson had contact only with the people on this list. Now, he had a drink with Senator Babcock, and he chatted with a Miss Pringle about some mice she had in the cage, and he picked up a book dropped by Mrs. Jellison. Not very much to go on.
How many of these people have been attacked already?
I've heard about your deductions, Mr. Holmes. Well, Senator Babcock was held up on his way from the station, with nothing taken. And Mrs. Jellison's home was ransacked that night.
And she found the book that she carried from the train literally torn to bits.
That's right.
Miss Pringle?
Well, Miss Pringle says someone released the mice from the cage during the night sometime, and she found the cage torn apart.
What happened to the mice, Sir Weller?
An intriguing line of thought, Watson, but not essential to the case.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Grogan, they're still looking for the document. I'd very much like to have a look at that club car.
Well, that'll be easy. I have the car held in a siding in the railroad yards.
Good.
But we've searched the car thoroughly, Mr. Holmes. We couldn't find a thing.
Well... What are you doing? What's this?
Mr. Holmes, your trunk.
Trunk? I have no trunk.
It says right there.
To Sherlock Holmes, Hotel Metropole. How was this trunk delivered?
An expressman brought it, sir.
What's the name of the company? Do you remember the license number?
Naturally, I didn't notice that. I just signed for it.
All right, thank you. That'll do. Well, this trunk's not locked.
Great Scott. Poor chap.
You recognize him, Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Who was he?
The man we're looking for, John Grayson. His real name is Alfred Pettibone. British Secret Service.
Why should they send the body here?
Obviously to frighten us.
Or to tell us they know that Sherlock Holmes is on the case.
Gentlemen, they knew we were on the case as early as their attempt on our lives in London. They're much too intelligent to believe that a corpse would frighten a trained detective. No, I rather think they intend this as a message. And they wanted to be sure that I'd be here at the Hotel Metropole to receive it.
Message? What do you mean?
They want us to believe that they found the document, and therefore have no further use for Grayson.
Well, if that's true, then we're done for.
I'm not so sure that it is true, Watson. If they have the document, why are they wasting time sending me this? No, it's an attempt to throw me off the track. Grogan, you've a police laboratory, of course.
Certainly. I'll see what I can find out about the body.
Yes, whatever marks it reveals. And the trunk. A microscopic examination. Everything about it. The lining, the blanket in which the body is wrapped, everything. Let nothing escape.
We have the best police laboratories in the world, Mr. Holmes.
I beg